What's going on, everyone? We are back with our healer recommendation video for Shadowlands. I will have timestamps in the timeline below if you want to better navigate through the video. Many of you guys asked me to go through my opinions and thoughts on healers for Shadowlands. Officially, we are now underneath 2 months before the launch of the expansion. Just earlier today, as I'm recording this video, they announced that Shadowlands will be out October 27th. It's a little sad, to be honest, because it's probably my last expansion launch that I'll be making videos or streaming. I don't know. I have a lot of personal stuff going on in my life, and I really want to enjoy this expansion launch. I really want to have a good time and just soak it all in. So I'll be streaming the entire thing, and if you're somebody at home that doesn't have anyone to play with, or you don't have a lot of friends in World of Warcraft, I'm going to be looking for people to level with. I'm leveling 2 toons that week, my healer and my DPS for the expansion. I'm going to be grinding dungeons, doing all the content, trying to gear up. So if you're looking for people to play with, I'm sure me and my friends are always going to need more people to group up with. So you can check out my stream somewhere here. I know it's far away, but you can keep that in the back of your mind if you are just looking for people to play with, because for me, that's just the most fun, is being able to group up with everyone without any rating requirements, or just everyone starting fresh, and it's always the most fun time for me. So hopping into my safe picks right away, please don't be upset if you don't see your class on here. I want to clarify, because I feel like in my last video, maybe it wasn't as clear, people didn't understand the purpose of this video. This video is intended for players that are looking to pick up a class, and these are my recommendations, a healer class, I should say, and these are my recommendations for a solid long-term run in Shadowlands. To me, I'm basing this video off toolkits, class history, PvP comp options, and overall performance in both content. I've made these before, and I'm pretty confident in these picks, but again, they're just recommendations. You can do whatever you want. Please don't get mad at me for just giving and sharing my opinion, because people are asking for it, and I would like to help out some people if they're looking for help. So going into the Restoration Druid, the Restoration Druid for me is a very safe pick going into Shadowlands. It performs exceptionally well in Mythic Plus. Not the best raid healer, but it's not obscene to bring one to raid because of things like Tranquility, and they can perform well there, and they perform very well in Arena. So much so that they received like repetitive amounts of nerfs. I mean, just nerf after nerf after nerf in Battle for Azeroth, because they were in every single Arena Cup, they were in every single MDI, and eventually it was just outrageous. But it took them so long to get to a place where they were brought down to more on a mortal level, and you don't see them as much after all of the nerfs, but a lot of the nerfs are going to be reverted going into Shadowlands, and I expect them to do very well. Not much in terms of nerfs to the class. Ironbark cooldown has been increased, but they baked in Stonebark, the talent, into Ironbark, so that is an added bonus, so it frees up your talents a little bit there. And then also, they're getting Cyclone baseline, which is great for PvP, and they have changed their affinities, or buffed their affinities, I should say. Guardian Af getting their Fear effect, Incapacitating Roar on a 30-second cooldown, Feral Affinity getting Maim back, which is very crazy for PvP, and then Balance Affinity receiving Typhoon as an ability. So just extra potential there to increase the skill cap of the class. And more importantly, I feel like for the Resto Druid, you can play it in all forms of content, 2v2, and 3v3. And you can play it with double melee comps in 3v3. You can play it like Rogue Mage Druid setup comps, and they do very well in caster comps as well. Mage Lock Druid, Lock Shaman Druid. These are all stable comps that have been around in the game for quite a bit. So I don't see that changing anytime soon. I think Restoration Druid is an amazing pickup for anyone. I think the skill cap on the class, again, is a bit higher than the other healers, but you can just get used to it by being the passive healer in Mythic Plus and in PvP. If you don't want to go in there and deal damage, or you're not comfortable with Feral Affinity, or maybe you're not comfortable with Cyclone timing, things like that, you can start off playing it a little bit more tame and then get into the nitty gritty, I guess you could say. So the class is very strong, and right now it's looking very strong on Shadowlands anyway. So even if it wasn't looking strong, I'd still recommend the class. But I think Restoration Druid is a very solid pick based on the toolkit and class history, comp options, performance in both PvE and PvP. Just my safe pick for Shadowlands. Going on to the Disc Priest, and potentially Holy for PvP, but Disc, for me, I'll tell you, this is the healer I'm going to play for Shadowlands. Disc does very well in raid if you're interested in raiding. Disc Priest, not the best healer in Mythic Plus, but they are getting some changes with Shadow Covenant that could be very good. Mind Games, Shadow Word Death, Mind Blast. I've seen some builds there on the beta, and it's doing pretty decent in Mythic Plus as well. But Restoration Druid, not the best healer in raid. Disc Priest not the best healer in Mythic Plus, so depending maybe with the maybe if you're interested in more Mythic Plus and Arena, you can go for Restoration Druid. If you're interested in more Raid and Arena, you can go with Disc Priest. Overall, I think Disc Priest is a very strong option though, because you will always have Rogue Mage for 3v3s. You will always have Priest Rogue for 2v2s. So you have like limited comp options depending on how holy is, but you have limited comp options, but the comps that you do have available are like some of the best comps in the game. And I don't see that changing anytime soon based on what the beta has been like. Also, they're not losing anything. They're getting Shadow Word Death baseline, and now they don't have to deal with talenting into Premonition 4 PvP. You're getting Power Infusion back. Their legendaries are some of the most interesting and I think most versatile I've seen on the beta. They're getting one to deal with double melee if you're interested in PvP, where you use Life Grip as a blink and you get 2 charges of that. So you can just blink to your allies, like Mistwalk from Legion, but it's on a longer cooldown. And Mind Games is very strong for a Covenant ability. The Kyrian Covenant is also very strong for just burst damage. Obviously, Shadow Word Death being great for Mythic Plus now because of Atonement. You get to have a very fun rotation. When you're on the back foot, it kind of sucks you're spamming Shadowmans, but when you're really leading the charge, you're able to just have such a fun rotation with mind controls and just the amount of damage you can do. It's such a fun rotation to be able to heal with damage, and I really like the Disc Priest. I think both of these healers are solid picks, but I would say that they are a little bit more difficult than some of the other healers in this video. I think they're just harder to pull off, especially Disc Priest for most beginners, because some of the healing might feel a little underwhelming until you get the pace of the class. But overall, I think they're going to be exceptional healers based on their toolkits, comp history, and just how they look on the beta so far. Going into my potentially risky picks, this one for me was crazy to put the Holy Paladin on this list here. Potentially risky just means that I think it's still going to be a solid option, but it might be, it might have a rough start, or you might have some seasons where it's not as effective. So that's kind of just how I'm placing it. For Raid, the Holy Paladin is, I've heard from a lot of my guildies that have been Mythic raiding for a really, really long time. They say that Holy Paladin looks great, but for PvP, they got a rework. And anytime a class gets a rework, I am very hesitant to go in on that class, make that my main, because it hasn't been tuned properly. It might be under-tuned in terms of like, how does that toolkit feel? How does the rotation feel? It's just not fine-tuned and refined as some of the other classes that aren't changing as much, if that makes any sense. It could be great, but that's why it's potentially risky. From my testing on the Holy Paladin for PvP, it feels very clunky. They have this new Holy Power system, which does increase the skill cap in my mind. Combination of like using Bestow Faith, getting Holy Power, Crusader Strike getting Holy Power, Holy Shot getting Holy Power from your beacons. You're not gonna have to cast as much. So like losing that infusion of light change where you no longer get those fast cast Holy Lights, which for PvP are massive. I talked to a lot of Paladins, it just feels bad. I'm very hesitant to recommend the Holy Paladin right now. It's potentially risky. It could be great, it could just not be very good at all, but I think it'll still be a solid healer because of things like Blessing of Sacrifice, Blessing of Protection, Freedom, having, Aura Mastery with Concentration Aura, having Divine Vision, 70-yard range now as well. The Holy Avenger change also just doesn't feel good. In general, I feel like the class just doesn't feel good, and it felt like it was a really quick random change when the class felt already very good. It's obviously not going to feel as good as this Ineffable Truth Paladin that we had in BFA. It's obviously going to feel a bit nerfed, but just in general, it feels clunky. It's just, for me, a worse version of BFA Paladin. So that's just how I see it. Mistweaver Monk for me got some nice changes in terms of Way of the Crane, or their new Invoke Yulan, the Red Crane. That seems really cool with Enveloping Mist interaction, how you get instant cast on that, going back to the Legion Crane style a little bit with Rising Sun Kick, resetting Thunder Focus Sea, getting Enveloping Mist out. All that was a lot of fun. So I don't think you're going to be getting that interaction, but something similar. I think for Mistweaver, it's a good pick at the start of the expansion because they have raw healing throughout, just brute raw healing throughout, but they very fast. And it seems to be the same way. They don't have many team defensives like damage reduction for PvP, but they're a great healer at just healing through raw damage, which is very desired at the start of an expansion, especially in PvP, because everything's kind of out of tune and unbalanced. So they're great in those scenarios. But I think Mistweaver is a great starter healer, not the best in Mythic Plus, not the best in Raid. For me, I think it's a great beginner healer, and it'll always be a healer that you could just pop on and get content done. I think you can find tons of arena teams. Melee cleaves are great with Mistweaver. Going into now, my risky pick for the expansion. Honestly, before I get into it, you already know what it's going to be. I don't think there really is a risky pick for healers because everyone needs a healer, right? Like, at the end of the day, you might be the best healer, but every group needs a healer, just like you need a tank. I think Resto Shamans are going to be great in Raid. They always are a staple in Raid because of things like Spirit Link Totem. You know, obviously they're not the best in Mythic Plus, but I heard they're okay. I think for Arena, the Resto Shaman isn't getting anything new to the class. They're not getting any changes. They were only really good during the start of BFA because of just the overtuned Pack Spirit and just taking no damage and Ghost Wolf. Outside of that, their healing wasn't that impressive. They have a good toolkit, but I feel like the class doesn't get... This is like the only class where I feel like it is reliant on tuning to be good or bad. It needs better healing throughput, and I don't know if that's going to change. I think the class still is going to fall over pretty easily, especially with the loss of Pack Spirit. It needs some work. The only way I could see Resto Shaman being like a very meta healer is during these Druid metas for PvP at least, where you can just purge out Druid HOTS, and if Druids are doing very good, Resto Shamans are usually in the meta because they can just spam purge out. It was like that way in Legion with Electrocute. You would just spam purge Druids, and it was easy to take those teams out. So I don't know. The Resto Shaman for me, I feel like I'm always just kind of beating up Shamans, but it's Blizzard, man. Like, they need to do something with Shamans, give them more defining roles. I don't know. I wouldn't discount the Resto Shaman, but for me, it's my risky pick. But with that being said, once again, I have to repeat myself. You can play with literally whatever you want. Play whatever you want. You don't have to take my advice, but if you are someone looking for advice, I'm pretty confident in what I'm sharing with you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, consider subscribing to my channel for more videos in the future. And with that being said, I'll see you all in the next one.